Take a walk with me. Stretch out this time and savor the moment. It's time for a red mage, blue mage extra turn, baby. Oh yeah.
And we're live.
Hello.
Yeah, everything, all systems go, bro.
Yeah, it's time for an extra turn, friends.
Somehow you
That's
got
right.
high up in your chair. Nope, stay the way you were. I'm adjusting you right now. But you were not this way before the start of the show.
I'm sitting up tall like a big boy.
Okay, you're fine now.
Okay, good. Whew. Sorry about
Yes,
that.
this is an extra turn. This is a episode of Red Mage Blue Mage that we are going to be putting out this Friday because, or whenever, right?
I think we'll put it out on Monday in lieu of
Okay.
our regularly scheduled episode because we got lots to talk about, but it's very of the moment.
Yes. Exactly. So, yeah, hi. Let's do this.
All right. Are we just diving right in?
Well, I mean, you've got a short amount of time to hold my attention span because I did eat 2 hot dogs, 5 corns, and a hamburger.
The clock is ticking. I get it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yep.
So time for some breaking news. Cue the music.
Oh, shit. Here we go.
Dateline, Dominaria, 4823. This is your multiverse breaking news.
Okay, it was the breaking news music.
I have to react like I can hear it, even though I can't.
Yeah, I know you can't. It's all right.
Okay, yes. Breaking news. Some of the biggest Magic news, possibly ever.
Didn't we just talk about like how Magic's falling to pieces?
Yes, we've had several conversations already about bans. So for Magic the Gathering, like if you're a casual fan or if you just play at the kitchen table, you don't care about the news, and you somehow haven't heard about this. On Monday, August 3rd, this past Monday, they came out with a banned and restricted announcement. They normally announce ahead of time there's going to be some bans. There's going to be a banned and restricted announcement. This time they just, here's some bans. And boy, were there some bans.
How many were there?
I'm just going to go through. Okay. Standard. Wilderness Reclamation is banned. Growth Spiral is banned. Teferi Time Raveler is banned. Cauldron Familiar is banned. Pioneer. Inverter of Truth is banned. Kethis the Hidden Hand is banned. Walking Ballista is banned. Underworld Breach is banned. Historic. Wilderness Reclamation is suspended. Teferi Time Raveler is suspended. And suspended just means it's banned. Like that's the long and the short of it. Eventually it will be banned. And then in Brawl, Teferi Time Raveler is banned. And we were chatting before the show started. We were talking about 3 Fairy, and Evil DM Josh was saying that was his favorite banned card, the card he was most pleased to see banned. And I was saying maybe the 3 Fairy is that it was banned in 3 different formats simultaneously.
I think it's
pretty
it
wild.
costs 3 mana.
Yeah, obviously.
Well, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So how many is that? Is that 10 cards?
I don't know. I lost track. My hands became Eldrazi tentacles.
11 cards.
11.
10 cards in like, not that Brawl isn't a real format, but 10 cards in like the competitive kinds of formats.
Ouch.
Yeah, that is a lot of bans.
Yep.
So I think it's not an exaggeration to say that this is the biggest ban announcement of all time.
Yeah, because it's usually like 2 or 3 cards.
Right. And it's a big ban for multiple reasons. One is just the sheer number of cards banned in one fell swoop. That's pretty wild.
Mm-hmm.
Second, this is either the most or second most cards banned from a standard format at one time. And that like it's competing with like Urza Saga, like a famous, like the first famously broken, they had to ban cards set that almost killed Magic.
So we all know here in the Red Mage, Blue Mage world that I don't play competitive Magic, and very rarely do I engage with the competitive Magic scene. So do you know what is happening with these cards that's causing these bans?
So in Standard, the alpha predator right now is Teamer Reclamation. So green, red, blue, Wilderness Reclamation based decks.
Okay.
And they're a huge part of the metagame. Just won big tournament this past weekend, which I suspect is why they waited until after the tournament. I think it would have been pretty weird to ban decks out of the format right before a big tournament like this,
because it'd be like a scramble to
right. And you want people to be playing at the height of their powers, you know?
Right.
And basically that alpha predator, it was very hard to attack that deck. Like the central card in it is Wilderness Reclamation, the enchantment that lets you cheat on mana. I'll just go ahead and read it.
Yeah.
So Wilderness Reclamation is 3 and a green for an enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, untap all lands that you control. So you get to double your mana essentially every turn.
Okay.
And one of the things that makes this deck really ridiculous is that you would think maybe the way to attack it is to destroy this enchantment, but it really doesn't need the messed up thing is it doesn't really need that. And especially they started adding in Teferi, splashing white so they could get Teferi to make it even more unreasonable for you to attack them by that angle.
Oh no, yeah, because Green Strategy just said Reclamation untaps lands, Teferi makes sorcery instant, so you get the picture. Yeah, okay, gotcha.
Yep.
Just disgusto spell time.
Yes. And Cauldron Familiar was not a part of that deck. That's like the next tier of deck. And so I was going to say this is another thing that makes this ban announcement really wild is the fact that they're simultaneously taking out not just like the top deck, but like the top few decks.
Right.
Like the best several decks in the format have been completely taken out of the picture, essentially.
Gotcha.
So right now, Standard is like the wild, wild west. Who knows what's going to happen here?
Right. Because I know on that list, what format was Fires of Invention banned from?
That was also Standard.
Yeah, I love that card. I could see where that could be fuckery could happen.
I think back when we talked about Throne of Eldraine, we had a show where we were just talking about, it was spoiler season. We were just talking about cards that we liked or were excited about. And I think you and I both were talking about Fires of Invention. Because I liked the way that Fires was kind of in different territory for red. Instead of just, whoa, a big wacky card, this like had something to it, you know? It was doing some weird stuff with your mana. Same thing with, what was the Ravnica card? Like Wild Experimentation or something like that? Or like...
I can't remember. Yeah.
It was like 1 red mana and it did crazy things with your hand and exiling the top card of your library to play it for free and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah.
So, yeah, who knows what's going to happen? We've got our chat sort of speculating on what will happen. I definitely agree with Josh. I think Uro was already a huge, huge problem as far as just like raw power level. And I think Uro is going to be king.
What is that? What are you?
I will read it.
Okay, thank you.
Oh gosh, dang it.
Like again, like this is a learning podcast for me, and also I don't engage with what's going on in the meta currently.
Sure. So this is from Theros Beyond Death, Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath, 1 green blue. It's got a lot of text to it. It's a 6/6 for 1 green blue.
Okay.
When it enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless it escaped. So when you cast it, you sacrifice it immediately.
Mm-hmm.
When it enters the battlefield or attacks, you gain 3 life and draw a card. Then you may put a land from your hand onto the battlefield.
Okay. And
it has escape, green, green, blue, blue, and you exile 5 other cards from your graveyard. So basically the way it plays is you pay 3, it goes straight to your graveyard. but it gives you 3 life, a card, and potentially an extra land as well.
Gotcha.
And then you can pay 4 mana and exile some cards later, and boom, you get a 6/6, and you get the same stuff.
Okay.
So this is just a ridiculous value engine, ramps into itself, does all kinds of wild things.
Sure.
It was already a big problem. I think now that you've sort of removed these potential barriers to it just running completely rampant over standard, I think it probably will. So we'll see. Yes?
I don't know. I just feel sad for standard players in some ways. Because it's like, I don't know, like, it just doesn't... One, we already talked about, I'm not a competitive person to begin with. As far as Magic the Gathering goes, like, I'm competitive in certain things in certain ways, but I don't have... I like playing the Commander, and then also, we haven't talked about it yet, but me doing the Jumpstart.
Right.
Which is super fun.
Yeah.
But I like stuff like that. And so for me, as like, I used to think, oh, one day I would love to go to tournaments and like play competitively, even though it's like a job. I would be like frustrated. And I kind of get that secondhand frustration from Josh, who constantly messages us all the time during my lunch break when I'm trying to just like chill out and like, you know, where he's just angry about having to play where the meta is
these bullshit meta decks.
Yes, these meta decks that are like way overpowered, and he's just like, I'm just trying to play. Yeah. What? Yes? 2
thoughts. Josh, this is an intervention. All right. So 2 thoughts. One, I do feel bad for standard players. I think standard is bad by all accounts, not just from Josh. By all accounts, standard is not fun, and it has not been fun for a while.
Well, I thought it was like actually at its best, like back when Ravnica and War of the Spark was happening. Was it? That's a fair thing to say, because I saw a lot of happy. They're like, wow, the current standard format is actually like really fun to play in, and that was like a year and a half ago.
I think there was a little happy lull in between the bans of Kaladesh and the bans that started, or the troubles that started in War of the Spark, because 3 Fairy comes from War of the Spark, Narset comes from War of the Spark.
Yeah.
Like, some bad things happened in War of the Spark for standard, started to. And then you go into Throne of Eldraine and things just start snowballing again from there. So there was like a happy little window there, but it hasn't been great for a while.
Okay.
But the intervention, Josh, there is always a meta, and there will always be
meta.
The best decks.
Yep.
And you can either be happy to play the best decks and give yourself the best chance to succeed, or you will be climbing uphill. And maybe you're happy to do that because it's more important to you to, you know, have your own unique play style. But I do get what you're saying. There are some metas where you can do that more easily than others. Yeah. Oh yeah. So that's standard. Bunch of bands in there. Pioneer, also 4 different bands that are like hitting different decks. Like the top 2 or 3 decks are just gone from Pioneer. Right. So Pioneer's also Wild West.
Forgive me, what is Pioneer again?
So Pioneer, so Modern starts with, I think, 8th edition. 8th edition forward is Modern. It's a huge set of cards. Pioneer is a smaller set of cards. I forget where Pioneer starts.
Yeah, because like I know what Historic is, obviously. I know other formats, but like Pioneer is something I've heard recently. Like, did I miss this?
It starts with Return to Ravnica and moves forward.
Oh, okay.
Now you came back in Return to Ravnica.
Yeah. We know the classic line that I say.
This is Return to Ravnica, Original Theros, Tarkir, Battle for Zendikar, Return to Innistrad, Kaladesh, Amonkhet, Ixalan, Dominaria, and then you know the rest.
Okay.
So it's another big format, just not nearly as big as Modern. And crucially, rather, it doesn't have fetch lands.
Okay.
So the mana is not nearly as good.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool.
And essentially, they hit a bunch of combo decks in Pioneer. They made a big stance here of like, basically, we don't want Pioneer to just be combo deck central. That's what they seem to be saying.
Okay.
So that's
then poor combo players.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, I don't think it's good when combo is like the best several decks or even the best deck to play.
Right.
It means that the best deck is one where your opponent doesn't get to interact and do things like attack with creatures and kill creatures with removal spells.
Right.
Which is what Magic is at its core, you know?
Well, then I guess everybody should just be like me now. Just give up competitive Magic and just play at home with your dog.
We'll get into that possibility in the second half, I think.
Yeah, I heard it.
Wow. There was one last thing I wanted. Last thing I wanted to say about why this is like a big kind of historic announcement, I think. It seems like most people are happy about these bans. Josh, can you confirm? Are you happy about these bans?
I don't know if he was happy, but he was just like, wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Whoa.
But I think I would step out on a limb to say that Josh is happy that these cards are no longer in standard, for example.
Confirmed.
Okay, good.
Confirmed.
Good. And I've watched a lot of videos of people's reactions to these bans, and pretty much everybody says going from Sunday to Monday, like the state of the world on Sunday, going to the state of the world on Monday, these are all improvements to standard. It's kind of weird that these bans are happening right before rotation. Like a lot of these cards were leaving anyway, which is weird.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, it's better than just, I guess, living with them for the next few months. But the bigger thing to me is in the announcement, some of the language that they used, really.
Oh, tell me. Were they cussing?
Yeah. So there's some blue language.
Were they...
They said, we are banning goddamn growth spiral.
Yeah.
And motherfucking wilderness X. No. So here's what they said. I'm just going to pick a few paragraphs. We note that Growth Spiral, Wilderness Wreck, and Teferi Time Raveler were already slated to rotate this fall with the release of Zendikar Rising. With that in mind, we view this set of changes as an early rotation for those cards to help freshen up the remaining summer metagame. In the case of Cauldron Familiar, we're taking the opportunity not only to improve the metagame short term, but also remove a balance risk and undesirable play pattern leading into next year. We emphasize that these changes are, to a large degree, a product of the times and the current focus on digital play. We look forward to hearing community feedback on this approach, and we'll continue to keep an eye on the metagame going forward.
The bans are a product of its time?
Yes. Which I read as saying, on its surface anyway, there's a global pandemic right now.
Right.
Which means that paper play is at an all-time low.
Yeah.
People who are playing digitally.
Mm-hmm.
And on digital, there's a lot less feel bad about banning cards because you can just say, here, have some wild cards. You know, they can say, oh, you owned, 4 copies of Teferi Time Raveler. Now you can just get any 4 cards you want instead.
Oh, I see.
Or you can't do that.
Interesting.
In paper.
I mean, you could.
How would that work, though?
You go to your store and there's a program where you could trade in your card for something else.
It's pretty cumbersome.
It is, but it's not
not physically impossible.
Yeah, because we deal with it. Okay, so here, insider knowledge.
Okay.
When you buy mass market paper books from a store, right, bookstore. If we, as a bookstore, bought a bunch of mass market paper books and we then, they were on the shelves so long that they turned yellow or they were never sold or just like they weren't selling, we can then rip the covers off of those mass market paper books, bundle them up and send them back to the publishing company. And then they give us a check essentially or something, or a credit to go to the next thing that you buy, right?
Okay.
Which is why if you ever see a book and it says if this book did not have a cover on it, this is illegal essentially.
Gotcha.
because that's what book companies would do. So Wizards of the Coast, there could be a program. It's cumbersome, and because America because our government wants to like get rid of the USPS, it wouldn't be an easy thing to do. But you could do something like that, where basically a game company, a game store could collect these banned cards from players. They get a booster pack or something for turning it in, or they get some sort of like redeeming points or whatever. And then the gaming company could then send in these and then get stuff back.
Physically possible.
I agree. Possible. Cumbersome. Arena's much easier.
Yes. And that's what I want to get at now. I think this is segueing perfectly into the second half of what I want to talk about here.
Okay.
So I think now we should move into you might say, a civilized scholarly debate.
You know, I'm not going to debate, but here's the music.
Once again, it's time for an academic debate between a civilized scholar and a homicidal brute. Let's begin.
All right, let's begin. Let's begin.
Okay, so the topic I want to talk about is what is the future of paper magic? Now, just to set the stage here, my own personal stage.
Yes.
You and I are both fans of the prof, Lair Community College.
Yes.
He's a bit of a pessimist. I don't know about pessimist. He's definitely critical of Wizards.
Yes, I would say definitely.
And I've been listening to a lot of his stuff, especially Dice Removal, his podcast with Pleasant Kenobi, and they've had several episodes where the prof is a little bit of a doomsayer about. He puts on his tinfoil hat and he's like, Wizards is trying to get rid of paper magic completely and move it completely to digital. Yes. And they're doing things that in his mind are sabotaging the game / getting ready for moving away from paper. Part of his evidence in the past has been all these crazy premium products that they're releasing, which is something that other card games have done. And it just sort of like kills the market over time. Okay. It's like saturated with all these premium products. He sees it as like, potentially, he's not saying this is 100% true, but he's wondering if it isn't just like a quick cash grab. Let's get as much money out of paper. Let's wring it dry before it's dead because we're trying to kill it.
I mean, I can understand that. Like from a business's perspective, why wouldn't you want to go completely digital? Other than the fact that you do have a market where people want to still play physical paper. Like if I would not be surprised if they are not trying to kill off paper magic entirely, but to restructure it in a way that not as much of their resources or time is going towards paper magic.
Right.
Yeah.
We have definitely seen things that are more, at least at the very least, more geared towards digital. Ikoria is a great example. Ikoria has Mutate, which works in paper, but is much, much, much smoother in digital.
Yeah.
Where you're like splicing cards together to make one big card. And then you also have things like keyword ability tokens, like a vigilance token or a trample token or whatever.
Right.
Also way easier in digital than it is in paper.
Right.
And so they're doing things that feel a little bit more digitally in nature.
Sure.
Also harkening back to something else we recorded, which probably isn't out by the time this is released as a podcast, but I'll go ahead and talk about it anyway. We did a segment on Mark Rosewater's article on the future of magic.
Oh, yep. That's going to come out way after this releases as a podcast.
So I'll just talk about one aspect of it. He said one thing we should expect to see in the future are like mini decks, like side decks. Like a companion deck to the deck that you have, like cards that exist outside the game. And I think that what that is speaking to is in digital card games like Hearthstone, let's say, it's very common to have cards that say, put a random beast into play. and it just searches all the different beasts in the game and puts one into play. You can't do that in paper, obviously.
Right.
But what if you had like a mini deck outside the game that you make, and it has to be all beasts, let's say,
right,
and then you could do that.
Right.
That to me, my prediction is that will be the paper equivalent of that, and they're gearing towards doing that in digital.
Right.
So again, it's just leaning more and more towards digital. And I wonder if their plans haven't been hastened by the pandemic. Like maybe they were looking to do these things anyway, but now the fact that just through circumstances, most players are going to digital, that's what we see.
Right. And they did just not too long ago make it available for OS. So I can now do it on my computer, except I haven't because my brain.
Right. Without doing, in parallel or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the time. Oh, Greenshire just brought it up. I actually just looked down and just saw it. A phone app. Like, gosh, if Magic Arena was on my phone, or I would probably pick up a game here and there. But being at my computer is less of a thing. I try not to be at my computer. I'm at my computer 8 hours a day. I try not to be at my computer for more than I have to. But if it's sitting on a couch, I would love to play.
It's definitely...
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Josh just said they already announced in their roadmap that an app is coming later this year.
I didn't realize that. I know they had said previously that was going to be really difficult for them to make this card game.
Well, maybe they've just been putting a lot of resources into their digital market and are trying really hard. Like I mean, I have inside-ish knowledge on product development from my day job, and I know that in times that are hard, or just in general, way to make money is how do you make something with as little overhead, little investment, or you could put investment into it, but little overhead over time, so you get incremental growth and your margins of and that is like literally what they should be doing, right? Or what they're probably doing right now.
I'm sure they are. Yeah.
Obviously. So, I mean, I guess this goes to a larger thing. Let's make it a little bit more personal right now. For me specifically, like we've talked about, the only times I would physically go into play Magic is at events, like a set release. So a pre-release event I would go to, or I would play at events at conventions, Gen Con, or I just play at home, And so for me, I would still do those pre-release events. I think would be really interesting and cool for them is to really, like, if they're going to start taking away from paper Magic and events in general, like I could see them hyping up making things at pre-release events way more special, potentially, to get people to come in.
Sure.
If they still want to keep paper Magic sustained. But man, you can't help it. Arena is just so easy to. It's like I prefer. Like let's be honest. Like I would much rather use Arena because the interface just makes it very easy. I don't have to track stuff as hard. I don't forget things. I'll get nudges. It's nice for me.
I'm kind of thinking about it. I guess it depends, right? I wonder how much money. So I know for a fact that the most played format in Magic is Commander.
Right.
Like that's just the most played. Now that does not mean that's their biggest money maker, because lots of Commander players that I know have their decks. Like when we did Roll Plus Con, some players would show up and they have their decks and it's filled with cards from years ago, and they update it every now and again. But these people aren't giving Wizards a lot of money. Right. So I don't know how much money their Commander products obviously do well, but how much of their total revenue comes from that, I don't know, because that's mostly paper. I would think that
because they don't have a system that could do that yet.
A future that I can see happening is casual formats like Commander or even like cube products potentially could just go exclusively to paper or could go to paper, and they move like standard printed cards just to digital. Because obviously if they ever just said we're going to digital, you're going to lose some people.
Oh yeah.
Clearly.
Oh yeah.
The question is how many, because you're also going to lose a lot of overhead, as you were saying.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
So like obviously the information we don't have is just the numbers.
Right.
Like what goes into, we know what goes into this decision, but what actually is the data?
Yeah, because that's kind of like what I'm doing now. It sucks because it's like you want to be able to meet your consumer base as many places as you can.
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult, but I've dealt with it at work too, where it's like, how do we prioritize what work gets done now? And it's usually a numbers. If there's more people in this area and more demand for this one thing, then that thing is going to get our most attention. That's just because that's just how it is.
Yeah.
So
just the market deciding what you should do.
I mean, I've talked about this before, where I feel like for me, the turnover is too fast. Like rotation of standards too fast. I don't feel like I get into it enough before it's already that set's gone and it's not legal anymore. And then for me, it's just too much of a whiplash. That's just me, because I'm me.
Well, I think so too.
Right.
Go ahead though.
No. I was gonna say, like, I lost my train of thought.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I don't know if it was going anywhere.
To
be quite honest, I don't know if it was gonna go anywhere.
I feel the same way too. I played competitive standard for a very small amount of time. And a large part of that was just fueled by, at the end of that, like when the format rotated and my deck became irrelevant, I just didn't have the gumption to do it all over again. And some people live for that. Some people love the refresh.
Right.
I have friends who are like, oh, like new set comes in, I'm going to completely switch up what I'm doing. There's a trade-off. Like you can play older formats where your deck is not as vulnerable.
Right.
You're going to get to keep it for longer, but that requires a hell of an investment to buy a modern deck or a legacy deck.
That's the thing too. It's like, for me personally, in the like hierarchy of Amber's like hobbies, priority wise, you know, it's usually like role-playing games and content creation, podcasts and stuff. Then I've got knitting and anime are about the same, because I can do both at the same time. And then, you know, the Magic's here, and board games before Magic. And and that's like me, like the time spent on things. So for me, it's like, I'm obviously a very casual Magic player. So when I would go to in-store events and stuff, it was a special thing for me to do, because I like Magic and I do really enjoy playing face to face with people, and to have that interaction, it's really fun. I met cool people last time that I went to go play, that I actually saw at Gen Con and got to talk with them more, and you know, it was really cool. It's like, ooh, you know, right as I'm like getting ready to be like, I'm gonna see you in store more, then the pandemic happens.
Yeah.
And I like that, and I think, you know, that's good to keep around. So I really do hope that they keep events like that going, at least for a while, even if it's like, this is a commander of the specific event, or this is a pauper event, or, you know, whatever. And they do keep that going after we get to some sort of normalcy in the world. So, and we can hang out again.
I think from their perspective, just from a financial perspective, that is the big reason to keep paper, is because of the power of like a social group to keep each other playing Magic or to bring new players in.
Right.
Which I think you would lose to some degree going to digital only.
Right.
Like if I'm playing digital Magic all the time, I'm a lot less likely to bring in my friends to play.
Right.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Cause it's like almost like how I got into Magic was literally, hey, Amber, my friends play Magic. Do you want to see this? And I went to an event and I watched, and I was like, okay, cool. This is awesome. Show me how this works. And then literally Josh is teaching me how to play Magic the Gathering. And it's like, I need that. I need that kind of
Totally.
hands-on experience.
I guess I shouldn't judge totally. I've played a little bit of Hearthstone. I haven't played, for example, like Legends of Runeterra, but my story of like similar how I got into Magic was in high school in study hall. Two people that I sort of knew loosely playing each other in study hall after class every day, and me looking at these cards and be like, well, what is this? Like getting so interested. I don't see Hearthstone having that same kind of thing. Not that you can't be like, oh, what are you playing there?
Yeah.
But it's a different, there's the social pull of Magic.
Yeah.
I know it's a cliche. People talk about, oh, it's the gathering part of Magic the Gathering. But it's
I have never heard that. Am I just living under a rock?
I think people have just said it's like, it's not just Magic, it's the gathering.
What is this, a cult?
I think it's kind of true.
Come join us. Look at our cards. We're tapping mana.
I mean, it might be that, we're moving to a future where Magic is mostly digital, and people will look back at this as sort of like a quaint older time.
It happens. I'm okay with change.
Sure.
I get it, because I'm not. This is like, for me, it's like when they change Adobe on me and I can't find stuff, right? Or like it's changed so much. But what's nice about stuff like with Adobe is like it's gradual releases to the point where like when it happens, it's like, oh, it's not so bad. But I'm getting old and curmudgeonly. And I can see if I was more invested in Magic the Gathering, I would be very upset that, I mean, it's hard enough with a pandemic, right? Like it's already like, that was a dramatic shift in how we are handling stuff, which I did not take well at all.
No.
And I'm sure obviously tons and hundreds of thousands and millions of people experience the same like horrible whiplash from my life has just been uprooted. But like, change is hard, especially when you like love something and it's something super dear to you. And so I can see like why the professor is like not necessarily pessimistic, but like just
cynical is
the word you used about it. Because I mean, I know I've seen his videos too where he's very sentimental about his experience playing Magic. So
Holden Leth said in chat, when you're doing your cult, it's more like, come join us, be broke with us.
Yes. Which is
that is cult like.
That is, yeah. You give all your money away,
yes,
and for happiness and security and friends.
The Magic way.
Yes. Whew, I spent a lot of money way back when. I mean, even on
me too, way back when.
Even now, I mean, you were buying you buy cards for your ridiculous cube. I am buying.
Just updated it.
Did you really?
Yeah, I pulled the trigger.
Oh, I see. The tri-lands. Ouch.
And vampires.
Okay. Oh yeah, and vampires. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm going. Magic's going digital, baby. We can't stop it. It's where the money is.
Yeah, I think bare minimum, it's going to lean very hard in that direction. I think as long as they have people who are happy to continue buying paper, which I think Commander players will, and the elderly among us, myself included.
The elderly, the 20 plus up.
I think you're just going to see paper products become more tailored to the people who still want to play paper.
Yeah, I could see it being a much more artisanal experience.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of is already going. It's kind of already going that direction.
Yeah, I got that secret lair stuff. I love my goblins.
Right. I think I can see going more in that direction where it's like, oh, you like this stuff? Here you go.
Yeah.
That carries its own risks. I mean, I know some people, myself included, part of the fun of Commander is like the organic nature of it. And when you make cards specifically for Commander, kind of takes away a little bit from that.
Yeah. They
can figure that out.
We know your feelings about that. I mean, I know them. I'm sure people who've listened to you talk at any length on this podcast.
Fucking arcane signet.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
But it's going more digital. But I think we can wrap up there. And that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, it's not. Change is good.
Oh,
Can be
Josh,
good. Yes.
Don't get VIP double masters, please.
What is that?
Those are $100 booster packs for double masters.
Just whatever.
That can be a separate podcast.
Yeah, we gotta stop talking because that's off. That's no longer about the future of Magic. I mean, the future I see in Josh's Magic is that he's going to spend hundreds of dollars.
Be broke with us, Josh.
Be broke with us,
Be
Josh.
broke with us, Josh.
Except I don't spend any money on Magic, so you know. Well, I don't even want to talk about it. I bought some cards recently. We should probably talk about like things that we've been doing in Magic next stream.
Okay, we will.
Yes, because we've not done a Magic catch-up storm in a while.
And we actually have Magic things to talk about that we're doing.
True. Like apparently he updated his cube and I didn't know about. Oh, I kind of did, but I didn't know. But you know, whatever. We'll talk about it.
Little preview for like from podcast perspective, like 10 weeks from now.
Yeah. This is a weird. An extra turn is like a weird like time bubble. Yes,
it's for things that are of the moment.
Gotcha.
I was just gonna say this extra turn will be coming out this coming Monday, the 11th. Podcast people, let this be a plug for the stream. You can stay up to date on current events, both Magic and Kenny and Amber, and it's fun.
Yeah. What the heck? How did you? I'm just moving Kenny around in the video because I don't know how his thing moved up. Anyway, sorry. Anyway, okay, we're done. I'm done moving you around.
All right, let us wrap up and sign off. Amber, take it away.
Okay, yes. Hi, I'm Amber, also known as Rocket Orca on Twitter and all the social medias you could think of, and more to come. Some that you've never even thought of. I'm already there.
I'm an early investor.
Yes. Geekspective.com. Go check that out. That's got all of our shows because there's lots of them at geekspective.com. More than just Red Mage, Blue Mage. Should I say some names of them?
Sure, go
Tales
for it.
from Moxferry, Shapeshift, Brighouse Athens, Party Like It's the Greatest Year film. That's all we got right now. Unless I'm missing something.
Yeah. I just want to second all of those. And I'm on Twitter at Wolfmere. We are collectively on Twitter at RedBlueMTG. And until next time, I'll be representing Counterspell.
I've got the bolt. Wow, I did it straight for the first time like ever. What? I know. All right.
So long.
Bye. I'm trying to click things and it's not happening. Bye.